This is Eat, Sleep, Invest, the marketing podcast for real estate investors to get more deals. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll, and I'm here with Phil Green. What's going on, Phil?
What's up, Brian?
Not much.
I am excited to be on the show, man. I feel like right now so much is happening in the market, and it's just absolutely insane. You know, we got hit first like 6 months ago, and now I see the wave taking over the entire country, and investors are just having to pivot. They really are. I mean, the game has completely changed, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and you're so right, too, because it kind of came out of left field. Everyone's living life, loving life, buying crazy. The market's allowing them to make mistakes purchasing, and then boom, left turn comes right out of nowhere.
That's so true. It's so funny. I'm going to tell you a funny story if you don't mind.
Yeah.
One of our employees, we were doing so well. Things were so good. I mean, one guy made $95,000 in like 2 weeks on a check. And he looked at me and said, Phil, we're doing so well. At what point can we buy a private jet? And then boom, a month later, the economy hits. Oh, we're in a completely different place now.
You know what? We're going to talk about that in here too, because that's something smart too. Because a lot of people, when they're living high, it's like, okay, I'm spending. You got to keep that nest egg, for like when stuff happens. You know what I mean? Because if you're positioned right now, it still sucks, but you don't have to panic. You just have to worry.
Completely different game.
So Phil, why don't you give everyone a little background on like what you do, where you're at, all that kind of stuff?
Sure. Yeah, I am actually one of the few born and raised here in Southern California. As you can see behind me, there's no snow. I love it. It's a great life here. We're very, very fortunate. Went to school here, undergrad, business, and then graduate school, finance and real estate. Went to corporate America for a couple years, learned how to work in a structured environment, got up to a director, and I just realized I want to do my own thing. So I jumped out of it in 2013, got my broker's license, started working the real estate side for about a year or two, cold calling, door knocking, open houses, just learning completely how to get in front of sellers and close deals. And I found this house that had a cracked foundation, and I brought it to an investor, and he made like 150 grand. And I was just blown away by how little work he did, because it was just such a great deal. It was back, when there's foreclosures, everything was everywhere. And literally he just put it back on the market, fixed the foundation, threw a couple, paint carpet, whatever. And I asked for the back end listing, which we'd agreed to. He's like, of course. And then he didn't want to give me the full amount. He wanted to give me like 0.5% left. And I'm like, dude, you're making 150 grand. I was like, 2 grand more for me. And I got another deal coming, and he wouldn't do it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just do the next one myself. And I actually thank them for doing this, because I would have never got into the investment game. I mean, who knows? Maybe I would have years later. But I ended up doing one myself, and it just made so much money. I was like, I'm done. I'm going to be an investor. And then luckily I made a lot of money in that first deal. The next 2 or 3 I lost, and I learned it's not that easy, especially when you take on foundation, issues and big problems. And then from there, we just kind of organically grew. Added more and more people. I recruited both my brothers, and today we have 55 employees under our core business, which is fixing, flipping, developing, and wholesaling homes.
That's a big team. That even just managing people, that's a whole nother animal.
Oh, it is. We have directors and managers and supervisors, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know what's funny? At that first deal, yeah, you're right. If that dude never like kind of pissed you off, it's weird how small things like change your trajectory.
Yeah, it was just such a scarcity mindset. Like I would never do that to an agent that brings us a deal, but I'm just so grateful for it.
Yeah,
It put me it gave me a whole different perspective. Like it's unbelievable. Like, for a couple grand, I ended up building this business, and it's the best thing I ever did.
So you guys are crushing it now too. Like, what steps did you take to get to the level you're at?
Wow, a lot. I think if I didn't have that corporate experience of understanding how to scale and how to grow and how to measure efficiency, putting checks and balances in place, putting accountability in place, it would have been really hard as a visionary, which I would consider probably my greatest strength. It would still be really hard for me to visualize how to build and map and grow a company without that. And
Yeah,
I think just having that background allowed me to see several of the Fortune 500s I worked at before I jumped into real estate, how you build and grow, and then hold those people accountable and get results, and then keep growing from there. And
yeah,
it's really helped me.
that's good. What are you guys seeing out on? Because I'm on the East Coast, and I do not have snow right now, but we're gonna have snow in the very near future. And I know everything usually starts over where you're at, and then we'll see it 6 months later. Like, what are you guys seeing right now?
Winter is here. So for those of you who watch Game of Thrones, you understand that.
Yeah.
It's definitely tough. We've already seen a 15 to 20% drop from peak values in our market. So a lot of investors that were buying, guessing based on appreciation, because the last 10-year plus bull cycle, it just kept going up, right? So you could think, oh, I know how to flip homes, I know how to buy correctly, and they just bought a home every time, and by the time they sold it, or if they couldn't sell it in 6 months, 12 months later, it got up another 10 or 15, 20%, and they sold, and they made money. I would say 50% of those investors right now still haven't sold their homes this year, and they're upside down, maybe $100,000, $200,000, and when their loans come due in 6 months with these hard money lenders, there might be blood in the streets for some people.
What's your average property values out there? Because in Pittsburgh, we're at like 100. I can pick up a property for like 100 grand. I know it's
Really?
world where you're at.
Oh man, I don't even want to say. We're over 900,000 is our average property.
Yeah. So some people are getting stock holding big bags.
Oh, dude, those monthly payments are starting to hurt. And I can tell you right now, when those hard money lenders look at those loans and look at the value of where those properties are, when they start hitting between April to probably August of next year, 12-month payments come due, it's going to be interesting. There's
Yeah.
going to be some guys that get in trouble. People are going to be hurt.
What are you thinking is causing this? And what are you guys seeing?
So what we're seeing is an affordability crisis. People still, because we have a brokerage also, so I didn't mention that. We have agents, we have tons of clients, and they all still want to buy the beautiful home that we've renovated. It's at the top of the market. They just can't afford it. Unfortunately, when interest rates are at 3%, and they jump to 6, that 4,500 a month payment's now 7,500. That's a really big difference. If you're already at like a 40% debt to income ratio, you're way over 50 plus now and you can't afford it. It's out of your price. So unfortunately, we just have an affordability crisis and people can't buy homes.
Yeah. And do you think, I don't know if you're seeing this too, like say the people that can't afford to hire a home right now because of interest, are they holding out because they think interest rates are going to drop and then they'll be able to, or are they buying the lower value property?
So far, because we have the second worst housing crisis too on the renting side in the country, we're seeing that they'll buy anything they can afford. And if they can't, then they'll rent. Because people that want to live here, like myself, that enjoy playing beach volleyball in January, I don't want to live anywhere else. It's a really great place to live. It's really fantastic. 2 hours from the mountains. I can go snowboard, which I'm going to do this weekend. I'm out fishing in the summer, the best fishing grounds in the world, and I'm playing beach volleyball in January. I don't want to live anywhere else. So if I can't buy a house, I can't afford one, I'm going to go rent, right? So there's no rentals. So right now it's coming down to they're looking at like what does it cost to rent and what does it cost to buy? I'll just buy the fixer and I'll fix it up in a year, and I'll get the interest rates lower in a year. I'll just buy it. At least I get to live here. I have a great job in a good place. I can afford it. I mean, right now San Diego, I just looked actually yesterday. We have 50,000 open job positions here. And what's so crazy about it is over 30 something percent of them are in the medical field. 6-figure nursing jobs, you name it. So we have good jobs, we have good opportunity. We just have a housing crisis. So our market's really, really interesting. It's different than a couple others across the nation.
Yeah. So what? Because people can't buy the houses there, they have a problem filling the jobs too?
They do. Yeah. There are 2 jobs open
Hmm.
for every one person looking to find a job here. It
Yeah.
is a war for talent. We actually have built a program now where we will take people from across the country, fly them out here, and we'll even put them in one of our Airbnbs for a week, show them our operations, get them assigned opportunity, and they'll move here. We just had a guy, a programmer, a really smart kid, move all the way out from New Jersey. And he is so excited. He's like, the sun is so great. It is so freaking cold out there. So he's really happy here. And
Yeah.
we're open to that because literally when you come out here and you experience San Diego, it's hard to go back, man. It's a really nice place.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because you guys have nice seasons all year long. Like you were
We
saying.
do. We're spoiled. And we're only 2 hours away from the mountains and the snow and the
Mhm.
wilderness, which I happen to love. So I'm out there. And I have a couple of Airbnbs out there. So I'm out there all the time.
So now I know a lot of investors are hitting you up too, asking you, like, what are you seeing? Because you deal with a lot of investors nationally. Like, what are you seeing that investors are fearful about and the problems they're dealing with?
Well, we're seeing exactly what happened to us 6 months ago. So as soon as that, affordability crunch happens, prices immediately kind of flatten out, right? The first couple of weeks, first month, you're saying, oh, we're just not getting offers this weekend. We used to get 10 offers. We had a house in the market. Oh, it's just kind of slowing down. And then you're going to see after 2, 3, 4 weeks, a couple different sellers are like, well, shoot, I needed to get out of here. My agent told me this thing was going to sell the first weekend. I'm just going to slash it down a little bit. And boom, now you start seeing price reductions. And then you see a couple other sellers say, oh, well, they lowered their price. Oh, shoot, we're not going to sell. Let's lower ours. And then boom, it's a domino effect, right? And pretty soon this, upward trajectory of values now flattens out, and then it actually starts to decline. And that's exactly what happened. We're actually underwriting our deals now, with a 1 or 2% decline monthly for however long it's going to be.
How long are you thinking? Which I know you can't tell, but like, what do you predict?
Based on a lot of data we have here, our market is a little stronger, I think, than the average market nationwide. And I actually think it's market by market. So please don't take what I say for this Southern California market as your market. It could be completely different. I'm considering jobs. I'm considering your economy. I'm considering your population. There's a lot of factors. But if I had to put a number where I think we're going to be here in our city, I would probably put between neutral 2023 to negative 5%.
Okay.
In values. We already saw a pretty good drop off. So if you haven't seen that drop off yet, you're probably going to get it. Like, we've seen a 20% decline already.
That's
So if it
huge.
ends up being, a 20, 25% total, correction for this recession, that's about where I think is going to be for us. I do think some cities like Idaho and some of these secondary markets where you buy homes, Boise, I think Phoenix and Vegas might get hit a little harder too, are going to get hit a little bit harder, right? And then I think some markets that have more affordability, like Florida, some are going to hold pretty strongly because they're just more affordable. You have a lot of cash buyers that are moving in from the East Coast, like New York, etc. And you're still going to do okay. Like the last 2 offers we saw on 2 properties of ours were cash buyers that are moving out of San Francisco. They're done. And they literally sold their home and they liquidated so much equity. They just came down to San Diego and said, hey, I get more sun. My company's moving here. Apple's moved here. Amazon's moved here. A lot of Silicon Valley's moved to San Diego. And they just bought the house in cash. And they said, this is a deal. And they overpaid. And we're sitting there like, do you have any friends? We have a lot more homes. So I think certain markets are going to benefit and still stay pretty strong. And we're all going to see decline, right? But I think certain markets are going to get hit a lot harder. And those secondary home markets they're going to feel it.
Now, what kind of things, like when you saw this starting to happen, how did you pivot? Like, what kind of things did you do?
Well, we immediately changed our underwriting. And it was really tough for the first 30 days because sellers expected, the highest price known to mankind because that's all they were hearing in the news. We were 60 days ahead of the news or any forecasts. So it really slowed down acquisitions and how we were buying. So what we did is we 100% pivoted to wholesaling. We realized there was still a lot of end buyers, buy and hold guys, Airbnb guys, and even investors that would buy for a while. And we wholesaled for a good 90 days straight while trying to clear out our existing inventory, which we bought a little bit too high. So we did take a few losses as they started to decline. But now we're underwriting at a much more conservative number, right? Somewhere between probably 12 to 15% ROI, and then also a decline. So like maybe for 2023, you'll probably 1% a month. We'll probably put in, and it might not even occur. But I think that's just a safe way to underwrite. So if you missed anything, you just have a little bit of leeway where you don't, end up negative. Our number one goal for 2023 is just don't lose money.
Okay.
We wholesale enough. We have enough money coming from the brokerage. We've all done very well, right, in the last 5 years, really extremely well. We're very fortunate, every one of us here in the investor space. I guess if you haven't spent all your money on a jet, you should be in a place where you're okay as long as you don't lose money. And that's our current goal for 2023. And we built our underwriting around that. We built our sales team. We cut back our marketing 50%. And we looked at every single ROI that's given us the best return. And we're double downing on that, going as deep as we can, staying above 5 to 1. And then we're also cutting stuff that's just, very thin and more expense for a higher risk on ROI. So if we can spend less and get that same ROI, we're doing that, which makes us run leaner, right? So we have less risk. So if we have a bad month, it doesn't hurt as bad. If you're spending 50 grand on marketing, if you're spending 100 or 200, hurts a lot more if you have a bad month. So we really just leaned out, which allows for our ability to take, weather the storm.
Yeah. What do you see in your best ROI?
Our single best ROI, which is absolutely bonkers because it never once was in the last 10 years, is direct mail.
I've been hearing that a lot from people.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's direct mail, but it's very, very unique direct mail, and I'll go into exactly why it's so successful. Every single person that we talked to in the last 2 years that was a lead, or we use Salesforce, so we call it an opportunity when they're a more qualified lead. We're going back and we're hitting them with a mailer. So if they hadn't closed, if they haven't changed tax records or listed it with an agent sold, we're going back and we're calling, we're texting them, and we're also dropping them a mailer. And what we're seeing is that ROI is just incredible.
Yeah, and that's huge too because they've already shown interest. Because most people, I mean, some people that are extremely motivated will sell right up front, but a lot of people aren't making those decisions for 6 months, a year, anyhow. Kind of like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, and they know our brand, right? Because we've spoken to them before. We're calling them, we're leaving messages with our brand, we're sending a text saying, hey, we're following up, seeing if you're still interested. And then we're sending a mailer with all of our info and a pitch and saying, hey, like, here's a check, here's the money you take away right now, specifically to that house, saying, here's what you're going to net. Here's your $500,000 check in equity. Give us a call today and you'll have it in 7 days. And that's a pretty powerful message, right? They're getting literally a check, a fake check that looks, it's watermarked and it says, here's your money. And it's specific to every home. So our analyst team went through and comped it and said, this is what they're going to take away. And we just sent them that mailer. Boom. They see that money like, oh man, I can have this money. Let me give him a call. 7 days, no problems, no hassles. Let me give him a call. And it's working pretty well for us.
So obviously you've thought about your audience and exactly who you're mailing to and what's going to engage with them. Because a lot of people send out fancy looking letters that look like bank stuff like that, and a lot of those don't engage versus getting a check. They can visualize that right on the spot, and it would have a good call to act. It's a great call to action.
Yeah, especially when you put the amount of money they're going to get. Like if they know they're netting like close to 500 and it says 500,000 cash and it shows them the check. Do you see that check and you're like, I've never seen a check with that much money. I'm gonna give these guys a call. I've been wanting to do this. I just need to do this. It's
Yeah.
pretty powerful. Like it looks like a real check. It's got like that watermark. People call if they need that money and they're in a tough place. Like and they can have it in 7 days and there's no hassles, no stress. They got a horrible tenant who's not paying, and it's really hard to evict people out here, right? It takes like at least 9 months right now. I mean, LA and San Francisco, you can't even evict them. People are 2+ years, right? But San Diego, we're probably 6 to 9 months on average right now. You're in a bad place. You're like, I just want to be done with this thing. I'm gonna take this offer and I'm gonna let them handle it.
Yeah.
Here, I got the money right here in my hand. I got this 7 days to my bank account. I think it's a powerful message and it's working the best for us right now.
Yeah. How about like texting? You said you're calling and texting and emailing and stuff too.
Yeah,
Is your
it
hit
works.
rate pretty good on that?
It does. It works really, really well. The reason being is these are people we've contacted before, so we have their real number. So we know this number works. And what we're doing is these new systems, this new software, 10DLC. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's basically been blocked by all this tech built by like Verizon, Sprint, and T-Mobile. It blocks it blocks our Salesforce system a lot with Twilio numbers. So we're actually having our guys use their company phones on Verizon and send those messages directly. And what we've learned is one, it's not illegal to do that. You're legally allowed to send a message to someone asking purchase their home. Number two, so there's no TCPA issues at all because we can be completely transparent who we are. Number two, it goes through. A Verizon to AT&T number goes right through, man. We don't get blocked. And we know these are real numbers and real homeowners. And we can put their property, we can put the offer, we can put legitimate data into this text and our name and who we are, and they know who we are. You can put, our website. And it's a very clear message. It's legit. It's not, some sort of scam like people are so worried about. Someone tries to scam me 3 times a week, dude. I had the best one yesterday. Holy crap. This lady called me, knew everything about me from my bank and said, yeah, I just need to get, a couple things and then you can pay your payment that's behind on your rental. And I was like, oh, my accountant must have missed it. And I was like, this is a scam. You're
Yeah.
really good. I told her you're really good. So people are worried about these things. Like, if I had to second guess one, I'd be worried too. But when you get a message like that, I think it's pretty clear. It's pretty consistent. Maybe even you second guess, right? You don't respond. And then you get the mailer in the mail again. You just keep getting touched and they respond. It works.
I see a lot of people's drip messages, things like that, and a lot of them are just crappy, like spray and pray, like, "Hey, you ready to sell your house?" But you guys are talking about customizing them. That's going to build a lot more credibility, and people are going to respond. And we're having problems with Twilio and everything too. Like you're right on the cells. A lot of them just get blocked.
We're seeing it. We're seeing such a low delivery rate that it's discouraging us to even use our CRM numbers. It's unfortunate. 10 DLC is doing what it needed to do, right? Because we were all spammed by China calls and everything else. I mean, I really was. So I'm actually thankful I get less of those. But on the same hand, it's destroying true messaging. Like we had relationships with people and they wanted us to communicate with them. We're getting blocked. It's
Hmm.
a bummer. We're finding all kinds of ways to go through, but in the end, nothing beats a AT&T or Verizon cell phone.
Yeah, that's a good tip there. And everyone listening too, pay attention. Pivoting to wholesaling. Like I'm hearing a
Yep.
lot of people doing that because you're not getting stuck with your hand in a cookie jar with all your cash.
Yep. And pivoting to wholesale in a whole different way too. I guess I'll spend a few minutes on that because it's really that important. You should immediately change your entire focus of your wholesale team.
How so?
Pretend your cash investors, your flipper investors disappeared, or just know they're going to disappear in 90 days. If your market turned today, let's say you're on the East Coast and you're starting to see it, no offers this weekend, all of a sudden, what the heck happened? You've got less than 90 days before the majority, 90% plus of cash investors will not be interested in your wholesale offer. So what we did is we immediately took 10 plus agents on our brokerage, W2'd them, turned them into dispo reps. And what they're doing is they're sitting down with end buyers, guys with cash, doctors, lawyers, attorneys, Airbnb buyers, buy and hold rental guys. And if we get a deal in a zip code, we're pulling that zip code and we're seeing every single person that owns two or more homes. That's a, potential landlord. We're looking at all these different factors. People that just closed on the MLS within 7 days. There's a good chance that person who closed cash on the MLS in the last 7 days is a 1031 buyer and they need to buy a few more properties. And if you called and told them, I got a deal 5% below market value, would you be interested? They're so ecstatic, they can't even believe it. And all of a sudden, you're selling to these cash buyers that are paying, dude, 50, 100K more than your cash guys ever would have in the last upcycle. And you're thinking to yourself, I should have been doing this the last 10 years. I can't
Yeah.
wait for the next upcycle. We're making more money on wholesales because we're selling to better buyers. And we had to. We did it only because of necessity, right? We didn't have a choice. Like the market forced us to do this. And as human beings, we don't like to change. If we're comfortable, we're making money, things are really good. I would have never convinced my sales team and my leaders to make this kind of pivot if we didn't have to. And I think it's a beautiful thing. A recession like this allows those who are the stronger operators, those who are motivated, to separate themselves and to get better. And I can't wait to see the team we built today and the efficiencies and the processes. I can't wait to see how the next upcycle. We're going to make so much more money because of how we had to pivot to survive.
Yeah, you're so right too, because even pivoting on with that and then your marketing and everything, you're just optimizing your entire business to be way more efficient.
Yep. And that's just a fraction. I mean, we've gone through every single department. Like I went through my project management team. We've cut our rehabs in half so that they're more affordable and they're priced closer to the middle range of each zip code, but they're still the nicest home there is. And it took, like, I probably worked 12-hour days the last 8 months, sometimes till midnight, just mapping, building these processes, cutting down costs, changing out vendors, just every little thing it took to get there. It was a lot. And I think the biggest message I gave my team, and I think would be important for your viewers to understand, is guys, we were in the best upcycle we've ever seen in the last 100 years. We made a lot of money. If you didn't make a lot of money and you spent it all, well, then this is a valuable lesson for you. Just understand you're going to work twice as hard as you've ever worked in 2023, and you'll be lucky if you make half the money. And that's the message to my sales team. A lot of these guys were buying homes, buying cars. I mean, you should see our parking lot. It's all Teslas because they were making so much money. And now they're barely making anything. And they're working twice as hard and they're in really early and they're here really late on Saturdays. And they
Yeah.
get it. Like this is what it's going to take to survive. 4/5 of us in this market aren't going to survive. And we're actually happy with that because we're gonna emerge out of this thing stronger, better than we've ever been. And there's gonna be so much opportunity in the next upcycle.
Yeah, when you're remodeling now too, are you doing? I know here in Pittsburgh, everyone's got the white cabinets, great floors, things like that. It's all the same style. Are you sticking with the same styles of remodels, or are you changing it to stick out or to differentiate?
Great question. Dude, we have the coolest remodels of anyone in the city. I went and found a six-figure hired designer to literally come in and revamp everything. Like we're using a really cool dragon gold, it's like a gold marble quartz that nobody's using. We're using gold handles, black's out already. It's the beiges. It's all kinds of shades of beige. We even found a custom local cabinet guy who's building our cabinets. So every color of the white oak looks different, and the shades are different, and the stains are different. So if you walk into 9 other flips today, and then you walk into ours, you're not going to see the standard stuff you grab from, the local China store that, got it off the boat here in Long Beach. You're going to see custom everything.
Yeah.
We're opening up walls. We're doing waterfalls. I mean, we're going above and beyond. We even have LED lighting for mirrors and closets now, and under niches in bathrooms. It's all lit up. The kitchens are lit up. It's something you see in a huge luxury house, but we found a cheap way to do it and have one of our handymans put it in, and we buy it in bulk, and it literally doesn't cost more. It just takes more effort and more focus to do it. And we're delivering a product that nobody else has in the market, and it speaks volumes. We have over 3 months of inventory right now, and our average property is selling well under 30 days. So we're doing something right.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you're right too, because if there's 10 houses on the market, make yours different.
Yep.
Because then when people walk in, it's not honest. Because a lot of houses, same layout, they're always a little bit different. But if you make it drastically different, it's like they could fall in love with that one versus, and you stick out.
Yeah, and you also have to price it right there too, though.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be that much further over where the market's at because people can't afford it. They'd want to buy your house in a heartbeat. Like everyone's going to go view it. We've noticed this. We watch the showings on every single house every single day. And if we price it too high, they're all going to show up and see it and say, "Oh, I wish I could afford it." And they're going to go buy the house down the street that's 10 or 20% less because that's all they can afford. So what we realized is you can't put too much into it. It's got to be priced right in the median so people can still afford it, but it's also got to be nicer than what the competition is.
Right. Do you have those listed up on your website? Do you have your properties
We
listed?
would on our Honest Agent site. We'd have some. I can even send a few over if you want to see. I'll send you a few after.
Yeah, that would be cool. Hey, you know what? If anyone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way?
Probably social media is great. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm completely open. Like we have a policy even in our company, like doors always open. I always allow anyone else to reach out. I might not get back to you the first day. I apologize, but I will. It's important to me. I don't sleep enough. I get back to people sometimes at 1 a.m. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "That's just me." Like I try to get back to everybody. It matters to me.
Yeah.
My email is great too. Phil@gghomessd.com. Like I said, give me a day or so.
Okay.
I do get a lot. It's usually 200 emails or so when I check in at night, put the kids to sleep.
I hear
But
you.
I'll get back to you.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, we're running out of time here. Is there anything else you wanted to make sure we covered?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, because we always see the wave first right here on the West Coast, we really do when a recession hits, is just a mindset shift. People just have to understand, and it was really hard. A couple of our employees refused to. Like, no way. And they actually left on their own. They exited because they couldn't get over they had to make these changes and that we're going to work harder and make less because it's a different time. This is what it's going to take to get through this tough year. And it's going to be really good again. We're going to see another great upcycle, right? Real estate's probably one of the best businesses to be in, but there's that tough year when, you see the recession. And it happens, right? Those of us that are around 08, 09, 010, we remember. It was tough. And it's not going to be that tough this time, but it's not going to be what we saw. When it didn't matter what you did, didn't matter, how you renovated the house and you put it back on the market and it sold over asking 100K. Those days are gone, long gone. You're going to work twice as hard. You'll be lucky if you make half as much in 2023.
What are you doing with your team on the mindset to try to keep them motivated? Because it's like, oh, hey, you know what? You guys are going to have to crush it this year on hours. You're going to make way less. Do you have any tips for people on that culture and what you guys are seeing working?
We're bringing everyone together. So we're actually spending a lot of time and money on events. We're trying to hang out monthly, team building. We're helping them understand that this happens, right? And every industry does have their down cycle, but like we're reminding them too, like, look how good it was last year. It gets good like this for a long time. This is a small period of time. We're going to work hard. We're going to stay together, and we're going to succeed because of it. And they're also seeing so many competitors, already in trouble. There's going to be blood in the streets, next year, 2023, in this market, because a lot of these guys are already upside down. They're seeing that, and we're showing them every day. When one of our competitors makes a really bad buy, our analyst team sends out and shows everyone. Look, this guy's losing. Look at him losing. Look at him losing. Look, they just made layoffs. One of our competitors just laid off 70% of their team. We haven't made any layoffs yet. So we're reminding them and showing them the other 2 through 10 competitors, like you don't want to work for them. They're not buying a fraction of what we're doing. They're not doing a fraction. They're laying off everyone. They're not hiring. There's no openings, and many of them are upside down. So you're still in the best place. You've got the best culture. You've got the best support. You know, I don't know how many guys watch Game of Thrones. You know, the lone wolf dies, the pack survives. And that's the message.
Yeah, and that's so true too. Just band together. That's cool, man. Hey, we appreciate you coming on.
Hey, I had a great time. I wish we
Yeah.
had more time.
Yeah, same here. We'll have to do this again.
We will. I hope so.
Hey, well, thanks for coming on, man. And then your website again. Give me your website.
It's ibuySD.com.
ibuySD.com?
Yep.
All right, cool. Hey, well, thanks. What's your favorite book?
My favorite book, I am a huge fan, finance major, undergrad and graduate school. So I'm a huge fan of Ray Dalio. It's Principles by Ray Dalio. I literally built my entire company under that structure. And I think it's been the best thing I ever did was read that book.
Nice. I'll check it out. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, man. Hey, everyone, thanks for listening too. Get out there, crush it, close some deals. Till next time, we'll see you guys.